Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies and talk about them. With me, as always, is my French Le Grand, the Immaculé, my creme brulee, the Le Cousin to my Le Cousin, Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn. How you doing, Kyle?
Oui.
Yes,
I don't
and
know. And all other French stereotypical phrases. Au
yes,
croissant,
baguette,
baguette. Uh,
ratatouille.
I I am doing well, and this episode is brought to you by Wagner because Mozart is just the appetizer, but we are the main course.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why like Wagner was a thing in here, but
I
okay,
guess.
that's what you listen to at parties.
Mm-hmm.
You do
Yep,
you. And in case you haven't figured out what we watched, what did we watch?
We watched Les Cousins from 1959, I believe.
Yes, and from everything because I cannot do a French accent, but I watched a couple of things and like there was a TCM introduction and he was pronouncing it les cousins,
Les Croissants.
les croissants, les cousins, les croissants.
See, now all I can think of
Lego,
is
my ego.
Les Poissons, Les Poissons.
Oh,
All I can think of
I'm
is Chef Louis
I'm
from The
sure
Wonder
we're offending all of our French listeners, right?
Both of them.
We have two. Yes, this is a 1959 film from France. In case you haven't figured that out, this is one of the earlier French New Wave films. One of those things that, like, I took a French New Wave and Italian neorealism class in college, and I couldn't stand the French New Wave. I don't like it. A little bit on the French New Wave. It was basically some directors who were previously critics for a magazine called Cahiers du Cinéma. Those included were like Truffaut and Godard and this film's director Claude Chabrol, and they wanted to start making films. Also, I think they were critics at first, and they wanted to start making films, but their whole thing was the new wave is we don't want to make them like your typical Hollywood films or the typical film of the day of that time, and especially like literary translations, which they thought were very boring. So what they did was kind of bucked the system with editing and less narrative and all this. And I'm going, so you took out narration, and so you don't have a cohesive story, and you just film stuff and you call it a movie, but since you called it the new wave, it's art. That's the whole. I know that I'm probably dumbing this down, but that's what new wave is to me: is someone making something dumb and calling it art.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that what all art is anyway? Some
It
people just make
is,
stuff up.
but
But anyway,
I'm like a movie. I need a narrative in a movie. Like, you
at
can't
least
just
that's
throw
what you
it.
prefer
That's
versus an experimental
that's what I
film. Yeah.
prefer. Yes, I'm not into experimental stuff. I want a narrative. I want this. I want a movie to go somewhere.
And that's okay. Yeah. So it's not for everybody. And for the most part, I have pretty similar thoughts. I just feel like I need to dive more into the French New Wave since I don't really know much about it. I'd like to watch more films either from that era, especially I know I like Agnes Varda, and because she was active and she was making films for an extremely long period of time. So it'd be interesting to
Yeah,
see more of her work from that era, and then even from beyond that era, because she was making movies up to like the 2015 or something.
yeah, and she was kind of in a like side group like that wasn't part of the main new wave film. Like she was part of what they called the left bank, which I don't know why that was separated, but like they were a separate group, like not necessarily part of the new wave movement, but like a new wave adjacent. So, but I think that was also where that was kind of the one film that we watched last night in Marienbad or whatever. We did a podcast on a long time ago
Yeah.
that neither one of us liked, but I think that was a left bank film.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to read up on it. I can admit that I'm not very familiar with this, so I'm only coming at this with a very, very, very limited understanding.
And I am too. And I want to clarify that, like, yes, I have a personal disdain for New Wave, but I do not begrudge anybody who gets something out of this and who enjoys it. I mean, that's art. This is not my kind of art for movies, but it is somebody's.
Yeah, the only film that like would really bother me if someone liked it a lot was Triumph of the Will.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's yeah, French New Wave just isn't for me, and I will give other films in this a shot. I don't think all of them are terrible. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say even this one, Les Cousins, is probably one of the better ones I saw.
Hmm.
I didn't hate this movie.
Yep. So I guess we should get into it. So on its surface, it's about a country guy named Charles who comes to visit his city cousin Paul. And then look at how different these guys are. Country mouse, city mouse sort of thing.
Yeah, Charles is kind of like the studious, uptight, like insecure guy, and then Paul, who he moves in with, is like a kind of more of a bohemian lifestyle, parties all the time, is very, very confident, and actually even admits so that like he's like just full of himself in the film. So yeah,
Hmm.
very, very different.
Kind of like a frat bro.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so the biggest film is like, okay, so Paul shows him around. So it's definitely less, the plot isn't super tight. It's more of like a series of vignettes comparing them.
Yeah, and that's kind of that feels kind of like what French New Wave is kind of like a more just like you said, more like vignettes, not like a main story or any sort of cohesiveness between scenes. Like when they go towards the beginning of the film, they go to a bar and just meet a bunch of people, and you see that Charles is kind of like just a little more withdrawn, but he does sit and play cards with some other guys. But then Paul is like going up and kissing every woman, and we'll call him Richard Dawson from here on out. And
Oh no.
oh wait,
Nice.
he's French. That's what the French do, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I'm making stereotypes again. No, but Paul is like knows everybody in the bar, and you know is talking to everybody, and then eventually Charles like all of a sudden they're at the bar drinking. It's in the evening, and then all of a sudden we cut to it happens to be the same night, but like Charles just leaves the bar and goes to a bookstore to buy a Balzac book. It's like what?
Well, he seems like the kind of guy who's not super comfortable in those kind of situations. So then, like, he goes to try and find a place that's a bit more familiar. And he's clearly kind of a bookish kind of guy, so it makes sense that he would go to a bookstore, place where he's more comfortable, doesn't necessarily have to talk to people.
I love the bookstore owner though.
Yeah, I
He
like
was
him
my
too, the
favorite.
bookseller.
It's like just steal the book. All these other idiots around here read like mystery novels and porn. It's like you actually want to read Balzac? Like the book's yours. He goes, well, I want to pay you for it. No, just steal it. It's okay. I'm not looking.
Yeah, see, yeah, he even like turns around and puts his hands over his eyes. That was really funny.
I I really liked that guy.
Hmm.
uh, yeah, and then from there we go to I actually wrote a note after this. I go, will anything actually happen in this movie? No.
I guess if there is an ongoing plot, it's the relationship between Charles, Paul, and the gal Florence.
Yeah, he meets a lady named Florence and instantly falls in love with her. That was one of the things that so after that night, then there's another party. This is just a series of parties that Paul throws
Yeah,
or
pretty
goes to
much.
bars. And the next night he's like he invites a bunch of people over to the apartment, and they have this big party, and Florence and Charles hit it off, and they go outside together, and he goes, "I love you, Florence." And she goes, "That's sudden," because they've literally known each other for 5 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, then they develop this little relationship. But then everybody they want to go for a drive, and he goes up to get the keys, and Paul's like, "A drive? That sounds great. Everybody, let's load into the cars and drunk drive through the woods."
Makes perfect sense to me.
I was waiting for like the tragic accident to happen, but then it was just like, nope, next day, everybody's hungover. So, but I did write in my notes at the beginning, Paul's got like a really nice apartment. It was kind of cool.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
he walks out with a cigarette and just throws it on the floor and puts it out on his floor. I'm like, what are you doing? But then
dude.
I saw the party scene later. I'm like, oh, that cigarette was nothing. Man, they destroyed that apartment.
Hmm. I think it'd be much funnier if every time it cut to the apartment, they did like the Seinfeld intro music. Do 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 do. Yes, and now I just want like his a neighbor named Kramer who comes in over all the time.
You know what's ironic is that watching this movie, I was actually thinking about Seinfeld because I was like, this is a movie about nothing.
Yes. So then Paul is Jerry, Charles is George. I guess Florence is Elaine. There really isn't an Elaine, but
No.
of course, this is all very, very loose.
Yes, very loose.
So I was watching this
Um,
movie, Jerry. I was watching this movie about two cousins.
well, it's in French, so it's cousins. uh,
Les cousins, huh? What's the deal with les cousins?
it sounds like croissant. Uh, cousins, baguettes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the, I would say that like this one actually like you said, there's not a real big narrative here, but there is like this whole progressive relationship with the cousins, and then like Florence and Paul's like meets up with Florence and is like, you don't want to, and she's like, I'm trying to fall in love with, or trying to fall in love with him or something like that. He's like, you don't want to do that. You like to have sex with lots of people. And then he sleeps with her. And
It's
then
like
she
I'm
goes,
lots of people.
and then she goes to Charles, and they're like, "Yeah, we slept together. I don't really want to be with you, Charles."
Do 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 do
Yeah,
do do
poor
do.
Charlie Brown.
Yep, exactly.
But then Charles like dives deep into his books, and then he talks. Well, we have to bring up the first party with one guy, this old Italian dude that someone invited along.
Yeah, why did
Who
he? How did he get there?
I, and he really wants one of these French women. You promised me there'd be girls. I was like, there are girls,
Like,
but
chill,
they don't
bro.
want you because you're an old Italian man.
And you're
Um,
creepy.
but he pulls a gun off the wall and starts swinging it around, and then he actually like tries to shoot someone, but everyone's laughing because there's no bullets in the gun. And then Paul goes, "Yeah, we do actually have bullets." Like he tells Charles later, "We do have bullets. They're over here." Blah blah blah, and then that comes into play later. But
Yep.
yeah, Charles goes into like this depression and starts studying harder, and then he still fails his test. So like
Because that's the
Florence
big
doesn't
thing.
love him.
Yeah, so towards the end of the film, they've got this big test that both he and Paul have to take. Paul doesn't study, it's always partying, doing whatever. Of course, he passes just fine. Charles studies his butt off, but then he fails.
Yeah. So nothing's coming up Millhouse.
Nothing's coming up Millhouse.
Florence doesn't love him. He failed the exam. So then he takes the gun and puts one bullet in it and does a Russian roulette thing with his sleeping cousin Paul. Puts the gun up
Because
to
he's
his
very
head
angry at Paul.
and click. Nope, doesn't work. So he goes back downstairs and sets the gun down. And Paul comes down in the morning and he sees the gun laying there and he's like, "Oh, remember that time the crazy Italian dude was waving the gun around?" And then he pointed at a guy and shot, and then he pulls the trigger and it actually hits the bullet, and he kills Charles.
Yeah, see, this whole film it was all leading up to a gun safety PSA.
Yes, don't play with guns, people.
Mm-hmm.
Guns are not toys.
They are not toys. They're very dangerous.
Guns don't kill people. I kill people.
Paul kills people, yeah.
uh yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this movie was trying to say something. I saw some reviews that were like trying to put stuff on it, the dichotomy of jealousy and blah blah blah, and I don't know that. I'm like, no, it was about two cousins and live in an apartment, and one falls in love with the girl, the other one sleeps with the girl and then shoots him.
And they're
Accident,
both
accident.
vampires.
I wish
One of
there
them
were
was,
vampires.
I wish Colin Robinson was there. Colin Robinson is the energy vampire from the What We Do in Shadows television show, and he gets his
He's the
power
best.
from making people really bored.
I, I love him when he just shows up in a room.
Yeah.
"Oh, hi guys, what are you guys talking about?" No, I don't know. We could go to Chekhov's list because we have a literal gun on
And
Chekhov's
we do
list.
have
So
a literal gun, so that's
we
exciting.
have a Chekhov's gun. That's about all I got on that list, though.
Yep. Good list. Chekhov's bookseller. He comes back, doesn't he?
He does come back, but okay. So what'd you think about this movie? What'd you recommend?
I guess I feel like if I knew more about the historical context of what was going on at the time and why people still talk about it today, I'd be more interested. But because I don't, I'd say Eh,
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I know that you read that like this French New Wave inspired and whatever a lot of movies still even today, and I'm like I can't. Maybe I'm just not intellectual enough to like understand this new wave. Like, it's just not for me. Um, that being said, I'm not really going to give this a recommend. However, if you want to get into French New Wave and you want to dip your toes in it, I didn't hate this movie, and I'm not a big fan of French New Wave, and I did not hate this movie, and I would recommend you start with this one actually, because there were some moments that I enjoyed in this, and some characters that I enjoyed.
yep,
So, but
I can agree with
overall,
that.
overall not a recommend. But like I said, if you're trying to get a new wave, start with this one actually.
Yep. So next, we can move on to the double feature. So if you like this movie, what would you watch it with, or what would you prefer to watch instead? So I think I'm gonna go with instead for me. What about you, Kyle? With or instead?
I'm going instead.
Okay, so with my instead, I think I'm gonna go for a French film called Man Bites Dog. It's a mockumentary about these people following around a French serial killer, and there's a lot of dark humor involved, and I really enjoyed it.
I've actually heard of that one. I've actually recently put that on my list of things to watch.
Nice.
I'm just going since I get so bored with new wave films. I wanted to go with a comedy, and I was like, this is about two cousins who are kind of opposites. So, man, what's a movie about opposites living in an apartment together? Starring Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. I'm recommending you just go and watch The Odd Couple.
Perfect. It's pretty much the same film.
Exactly. So,
It
yeah,
took me 5 minutes to realize that FU stood for Felix Unger.
Oh, that's good stuff. And I don't like to crap on stuff like on this podcast. And I apologize for like I if you like the French New Wave, good on you. I prefer to not have something that I just didn't like watching, but sometimes we're going to run into that when we watch random movies. So, but now I think we're going to go on to what we're going to watch next.
That's true.
So let's
Spin the
go
wheel.
70 or better and spin. Okay. This movie, to avoid prison, a gang of notorious animal criminals pretend to seek being rehabilitated, only for their leader to secretly find that he genuinely wants to change his ways.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes, exactly. Because Crotchet,
Hmm.
or not Crotchet, Ebenezer Scrooge changes his ways. No, this is The Bad Guys, based off of an animated film based off of a series of kids' books starring Sam Rockwell.
Nice.
This is on Netflix. I have actually seen this, and I look forward to watching this again because this is a movie that I know next podcast I will be talking about a movie I enjoy.
Nice. I have not seen this one. I'm looking forward to it.
So I guess until then, you can catch us online. I'm at AwesomeKM on Twitter.
And I'm at Noah_Saturn on Twitter. That is spelled Satern.
And we're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. And you can email us, we don't know what to watch at gmail.com. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Comment below. Let us know what you think of this. Let us know your thoughts on French New Wave. Let us know the things that we're not seeing in this, like
What did we miss?
educate
And I'm
us.
sure we missed something.
Yeah, educate us. I'm always willing to learn more about this stuff and reevaluate stuff. So
Absolutely.
until then, don't play with guns.
Yep. Gun safety is key.